Every base the United States built in World War II, every coral airstrip, every floating dry dock, every hidden submarine pen was built in defiance of one supreme, indifferent adversary, the Pacific Ocean itself. Before it was a theater of war, it was a 10,000-mile-wide moat, the greatest logistical barrier ever faced by an army. America's entire strategy was not first to defeat Japan, but to defeat distance. This enemy had no headquarters to bomb. It attacked with typhoons that could shred fleets, with doldrums that could stall convoys, with waves that could crush landing craft, and with a vast, empty horizon that could drive men mad with its monotony. It was the reason the war was fought not as a front, but as a series of isolated, bloody islands. The ocean chose the battlegrounds. America's first task was to learn to see this base. This was the work of the Hydrographic Office and the Seabee surveyors who went ahead of the invasions. In tiny boats, under threat of enemy patrols, they would chart unknown reefs, map lagoon depths, and test sand consistency for runways. A mistake in their readings could mean an entire invasion fleet running aground. They were mapping the anatomy of the enemy. Then came the challenge of crossing it. This gave birth to the at-sea replenishment fleet, the oilers, ammunition ships, and provision ships that allowed task forces to stay at sea for months. Refueling in a rolling sea was a ballet of precision and danger. A snapped hose could mean a slick of flammable fuel and disaster. Each successful transfer was a victory over the ocean's attempt to push the fleet back to port. To build on it required stealing land from it. At places like Tarawa and Peleliu, this meant blasting coral and pouring concrete directly onto captured shorelines under fire. The ocean fought back, eroding new piers with its tides and storms. The Seabees' war was a constant battle of construction versus erosion. Finally, to heal on it required taking the hospital to the wounded. This meant the hospital ships like the USS Solace, but also the smaller magic boxes, floating surgical hospitals on LSTs that could beach themselves. Medicine had to adapt to salt water, humidity, and the unique pathogens of tropical wounds. The ocean tested the resilience of the human body as fiercely as any enemy. In the end, the Pacific was not conquered. It was temporarily tricked. The U.S. built a fragile, sprawling network of man-made dots, a constellation of steel and courage upon its surface. The victory was not over the ocean, but in the ability to project power across it for just long enough to break the enemy on the far shore. When the war ended, the ocean began reclaiming its domain almost immediately. Rust, storms, and coral growth consumed the abandoned bases. Runways cracked under tropical sun. Piers collapsed into lagoons. Ulithe's great anchorages emptied, and Tinian's runways were swallowed by jungle. The story of the Pacific War is therefore the story of a temporary settlement on an eternal, powerful entity. Every other base was a single tool. The ocean was the workshop. It was the first enemy, the constant condition, and the final, quiet victor that remains, as it always was, waiting for the next story to play out upon its endless blue stage.